This tomb, you can see it's about 686 meter square large. The tomb actually is for one of the kings who ruled Egypt about 66 years.
For more than 100 years, ancient Egypt's youngest pharaoh's tomb has fascinated the world, but now the experts are refusing to open it anymore. Why? They constructed mechanical traps, rivers of mercury, a kingdom underground. Conspiracy theories have circulated from secret rooms to missing queens, and even Graham Hancock has suggested that there is something more at play. But this is not a matter of curses or conspiracy. It's regarding a choice so surprising, it split the whole archaeological community in half. What did they discover that caused them to halt everything? And why is Egypt drawing a line? This is why experts are not going further to open the tomb of ancient Egypt's youngest pharaoh, the boy behind the mask. Before the world knew his name, he was but a mere boy at the center of Egypt's most violent religious and political upheaval. His was the name Tutankhamun, and he would prove to be one of the most renowned people in all of human history, not due to the manner in which he governed, but due to what remained behind when he passed away. Tutankhamun ascended to the throne approximately 1332 BC, probably between the ages of 8 and 9. He was a child king in every way possible. His rule came after the revolutionary transformations of Akhenaten, commonly called the heretic pharaoh who had sought to substitute Egypt's age-old pantheon with a single god of the sun, Aten. Akhenaten died, and the nation was in turmoil. Priests were infuriated, temples lay deserted, and the populace was bewildered. A youth who had been taken in by cunning council and great priests who wanted to bring stability into this tempest. Through his brief reign of about 9 years, Tutankhamun reversed most of Akhenaten's reforms. He restored the old gods, restored the capital to Thebes, and recreated temples that were vandalized or destroyed. But beyond that, there is little to suggest he actually held power. Most historians concur that it was the older officials such as Ai and Horm, who were preparing their own futures as throne successors, who made the actual decisions. Tutankhamun's health was poor. Analysis of his remains indicates a young man whose life was beset by malaria, bone deformities, and possibly a club foot. He limped along with a cane, and over 100 walking canes were discovered in his tomb, a mute witness to his infirmities. His death at around age 18 or 19 was sudden and still unexplained. Some think it was an accident, others illness or even murder. And without any surviving documents, we're left with more questions than responses. What transpired after his death, though, would guarantee his place in history. Because of either precipitancy, political unrest, or a failure to prepare, he was entombed in a little burial chamber, KV 62, that probably was not intended for a king. Its size is small relative to the other kings, and the design seems unfinished. But perhaps the rash burial served as his deliverance. Since Tutankhamun was soon forgotten, grave robbers bypassed his tomb, and it remained concealed for more than 3,000 years under waste and subsequent buildings. Then November 1922 arrived when British archaeologist Howard Carter, supported by Lord Carnarvon, unearthed a staircase going down to a sealed door. The burial that they found was filled with more than 5,000 treasures, such as golden shrines, chariots, jewelry, statues, and most famously, perhaps, the golden death mask now synonymous with our vision of ancient Egypt. The world got its first look in modern times at what a royal Egyptian burial was like, preserved almost as it had been abandoned. Tutankhamun's mask placed over his mummy's face was more than art. It was a testament. This kid king, despite his youth, despite his short reign, and despite being all but erased from Egyptian history, was now immortal in the memory of the world. But KV 62, as it happens, may not have yielded all its secrets yet. The tomb's size and configuration have baffled Egyptologists for years. Others think it was for another person, and some question if there is more to the walls painted over, if there ever were sealed rooms that were not opened. And this is where the tale, a century plus since its discovery, again stirs controversy. Why has no one knocked down the walls or searched inside those potential secret rooms? That question will bring us soon to answers that have nothing to do with curses born of ancient times or superstition, but something much closer to truth: the fear of ruining what we've waited millennia to discover. The secrets under KV 62. For decades, Tutankhamun's burial was believed to be fully excavated, its secrets revealed under the assiduous eyes of tourists and historians alike. But starting in 2015, that presumption was quietly shattered. It began with some measurements, a scan, and finally a theory that would rock the foundations of all we believed we knew about KV-62. It began when British Egyptologist Nicholas Reeves analyzed high-resolution scans of the walls of the tomb. What he saw looked almost impossible to overlook: slight lines and inconsistencies beneath the painted surfaces, specifically on the north and west walls of the burial chamber. These verses indicated that maybe there could be closed doorways behind the very walls that Carter had reached 100 years ago. Reeves made an outlandish hypothesis. Tutankhamun's tomb was not an independent monument, but an addition to a bigger royal tomb. And if that were so, then the secret chambers could hold the resting place of Queen Nefertiti, Akhenaten's queen and one of ancient Egypt's most mysterious figures. Nefertiti's tomb was never discovered, and Reeves speculated that the young king might have been buried in a side room of what was initially meant for her in a hurry. The theory quickly caught on. Not just did the layout of the tomb lend support to the theory, but even the artwork itself posed new questions. The paintings on the burial chamber were clearly hurried, and some figures had been painted over earlier outlines, perhaps concealing Nefertiti's original portraits. Even the design of the chamber, with its lack of majesty found in royal tombs, added credibility to the theory that it was hastily converted. Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities considered the theory seriously. In 2015 and 2016, they hired crews to do radar sweeps and infrared photography. The early findings were encouraging. Japanese radar expert Hirokato Watanabe reported picking up anomalies typical of empty space or voids behind walls. Infrared also showed temperature variations in the north wall, which could suggest a distinct cavity. The anticipation was electric. If true, it would be the most significant Egyptological discovery since Carter's initial dig. Reports were filled with headlines announcing the unsealing of a second chamber. Tourists flooded the Valley of the Kings, hoping to see history unfold. But as suddenly as hope grew, it started to dissipate. Subsequent radar scans by other expeditions yielded inconsistent and inconclusive findings. Some discovered no evidence of voids whatsoever, and others disputed the methods used by Watanabe. The science used to fuel the theory now battled to demonstrate it. Nevertheless, the tomb still seemed to whisper. Nobody could ever state what might be hidden in there beyond a doubt, and the suggestion of a secret chamber remained like an echo out of reach.